Hi everyone. Good morning, Nitesh. Good morning, Pushpa. Hey guys, I think you're there. Good morning, Nitesh. So we will begin. In the meantime, that other students will join in. I am just thinking, or I would put up like this: has any of you, studied with me earlier? Okay. Yeah. That's what. So I could make out that Pushpa name seemed familiar for SBR. No issues. So Pushpa, you gave your exam. Okay. So planning for June. Great. Okay. So before we begin, quickly, we will have an understanding also about what is ATX about and why it is such an important, relevant optional paper for you for your, P-level exams for your ACCA. Okay, just before I proceed, let me just give you a quick introduction about myself. So I am a finance professional carrying an experience of work experience wise more than 14 years and yeah, apart from this, I am also qualified chartered accountant and a qualified CMA as well, US CMA. Okay, and for the last 9 years, I'm teaching ACCA and I teach multiple subjects across the multiple levels. Some subjects in foundation levels, skills, as well as in the P level. So P level, I teach SBR and ATX for the past quarters I think every alternate quarter generally we're experiencing one or two ranks at least, and average scores for ATX have been at least 70 to 75. So I would say with the minimums not even touching in 50s, they are touching 60s. So overall, I would say ATX results have been quite outstanding, throughout the previous at least 1 year, if I say. And since, if I just remember, I think 2 quarters back, we had a quarter back only, just prior to the previous quarter's results, we had a pass rate of 95%. So that means, or I'm just trying to put up is ATX is a very, very interesting subject. It's a very scoring subject, and it's one of those subjects in P levels where you're actually not writing much, but you're doing calculations also. Because you see papers like SBL, like SBR, like AAA, where you are doing a lot of writing work as well. Okay. So one thing before I give you more inputs about ATX, a quick question that I have in my mind is, guys, why did you opt for ATX? Okay, any reason why did you opt for ATX? Pushpa, Nitish, give me a reason. Come on, okay, that's a kind of a genuine reason. What about you, Nitish? That's great. That's great. The reason why I asked you was because you have different optional papers also, right? Why would you go for ATX? For me, one of the core reasons is when you talk about the other optional papers, ATX has got the highest passing rate. Okay? ATX has got the highest passing rate. I'll show you that also, the passing rates and all. Secondly, like Nitish added, not just because you're a CA or you carry other professional degrees, even if you're coming from the normal routes where you're taking foundation skills and advanced skills, that is your professional level, I believe ATX is a very, very important and it's by default inherent, requisite paper, I would say that. Because it opens a big domain for you when you talk about your professional, career wise. Because you go to any big fours, you get to any offshore company, and multiple entities, they have a separate taxation department, right? International taxation. So when we are studying this UK taxes precisely, we are opening the doors to the different companies, which are basically having a background of UK or the other European markets, because then it becomes very similar. So the one that is why I would say that ATX is a very, very important paper, because it is just like you're adding on to your tax knowledge. So the tax knowledge that is basically considered as a prerequisite when you come to ATX UK is enhancing this knowledge. Now, how to enter into a cross-border transaction, right? So, supposing an entity is registered in UK and it is entering into a cross-border transaction, you have overseas taxes. So all these clauses are taken care under ATX. So ATX, you're going beyond your boundaries, okay? You're just going beyond simply calculating your taxes, like what is the taxes on your income, be it your employment income, be it your trading income, and so on. We are going beyond it. We are going looking into more of an international horizon. We are looking more into reliefs, the different reliefs, the different exemptions that can be claimed when an entity converts maybe from a sole trader to a incorporated, it is incorporated, that is sole trader to corporate, it is getting created. So like these cases where you're looking to apply your advanced knowledge into these taxes. So P level paper, like we're talking about ATX here, it is not just about doing calculations. Okay, many times students, they have a presumption that in F6, that is in the skills level, it was more about doing calculations. A very minimal theory was there. Right here also, you're doing calculations, but in relation to it only you have to write. So from day one only, we will create a habit of writing as well. Apart from just doing questions, we will do writing work as well. Okay. So this is why, why somebody would go for ATX. So maybe if I look forward to expand my horizon of work, I would definitely go for tax ATX combination. Now, basic question that comes to almost every professional minds, who is having a direct entry to the professional level, I always come across this, that ma'am, we don't know the basics of UK taxes, right? Nitish, do you also carry this same query? I would. Don't worry. This all will, the process will follow. We'll just, begin with the batch. It's all will be done in this week. So don't worry about that. Okay, today's session would be for 3 hours. So let me just talk about that also. But first, let us discuss about that, a basic apprehension or a basic doubt that everybody has in their mind is, ma'am, I'm having a direct entry to the professional level and coming directly to ATX without the basic knowledge of taxes UK is going to make my life very difficult, and then I may have to just scroll across different YouTube channels, look into different other contents and get the knowledge. But don't worry, guys, you will not have this problem with the class, because how I take up the sessions is I would always give you the basics of that topic first, which even if it is assumed you have got it from the taxes level, I will still give you that basics again. Okay, and then only we will be discussing the ATX concepts. So I will not throw a full googly onto you. I would give you the basics. So, and I always presume that most of you are not carrying the UK taxes knowledge. Though we will not go in much question answering of that basic knowledge, but I'll make you understand with some examples. Okay, and you will have a text also in the notes. So in the notes that I would be giving you, I would be giving you both basic taxes notes as well as the advanced taxes notes. It will be like a merged version that you will be getting. So I hope it will resolve the anxiousness that you may be having with regard to this. Yeah. And let me also talk about few other things, and then only we will be going in detail. So today is basically an orientation session. Okay. And as we have time, then I would definitely be starting with a chapter as well. Hi, good morning. Who's logged in with the OnePlus name? I would really request you to please rename yourself or put it in the chat box your name. I will rename it. Okay. So let's have a quick understanding of let's have a quick understanding of how the sessions would be conducted. So your sessions would be on Saturday and Sunday, 4.5 hours each day. Okay. And the breakup of this 4.5 hours would be just a minute. I will just share the screen. Please type your name in the chat box. So your class time would be 4.5 hours. Okay. Now I would divide this 4.5 hours into some time zone, as in 4 hours, including breaks, would be your study time. Okay, so 4 hours will be your study time. What about the balance 0.5 hours? This half an hour would be your practice time. So every day, apart from what you are, you'll be learning things in the class, you'll be understanding things. I'll be doing questions, but the last half an hour I have kept for your practice. I may just pick up any past paper question. I may just give you any random book question, but and I'll give you time. I'll give you 5 minutes to recollect whatever we have done in the class. And then you'll have a small question, maybe one or two questions as we have time in this time zone. This would ensure that you are understanding the concepts then and there only. Okay. And then you will have a revision. Once the class session is over, you will have homework questions. Homework questions would be meant, or they are meant to be solved by you and sent it to me for your evaluations on a one-on-one basis. I would send you feedbacks, I would send you comments on a one-on-one basis, for your homework question. But for that, please do the efforts of solving. After a month, we would be having one weekday session also. A weekday session's purpose is not to really inculcate any new knowledge to you or to discuss any new chapter. No, the purpose of the weekday session is because as you grow deeper into your syllabus, you would need time to practice questions. Like one question, two questions also would take around 1 hours, 2 hours to practice, and that is not feasible in this half an hour zone when we discuss when we have the regular live sessions. So one weekday session generally I keep with my all the levels, skills and professionals, all subjects, whatever I teach. I always take one weekday session. The weekday session purpose is so that you join, you have doubts, you have queries, okay, that we can discuss in detail in the session, as well as we will have questions discussions also in the class. So this will further solidify your understanding for that topic. I hope the structure of the classes pattern is clearly understandable to everyone. Okay? Of course. Yeah, I would. I would make sure, don't worry. Okay, because I am going to take your SBRs, I will be making it sure. Okay, another point. Guys, you have any questions, any queries? I really want you to come to me. Instead of searching the same query or doing questions relating to it by searching it across different YouTube channels, because many times I receive students query at the by the sorry, I receive students query when they are almost 2 weeks to the exam, 1 week to the exam, 10 days to the exam, and then they come up and say, ma'am, I have a query, I'm not able to understand this pointer, and I tried YouTube channels to understand it, still I'm not able to understand. So just see how late that person is in approaching me for the queries when I am giving you 100% full query support, on the calls, of course, by dropping a message on the WhatsApp group as well as on the WhatsApp. And apart from this, I'm having a weekday session, the regular live sessions. So why don't you approach me first for the query? So it's a kind request to everybody that whenever you have questions and queries, guys, do not go to any YouTube channels. It's not that I'm against going you all going for it, but it is just that when you follow two, three trainers, it is going to confuse you because everybody has a different style of teaching. There can be the YouTube videos can be maybe 1 year old, can be 2 year old, can be 5 years old, or can be the latest one. And when you scroll across multiple YouTube videos, you tend to get confused. Instead of when you are joining a session, when you have already joined a class, why don't you put those queries to me? And I'm sure and I'm very confident I'll make you understand that pointer again and you will have no queries. This is the reason why we have a weekday session. Because live sessions, when you have query discussion, you tend to understand it much, much, much better. So it's a request that I want everybody to take. You have any slightest of queries, do not hesitate in approaching me. I'll answer that query 100 times. You have a question, put it to me. Okay, because I'm there for it. I'm there to resolve your queries. I'm there to take your queries. So please understand, essentially, coming back to this, we will have a session of 4 hours only. Okay, for half an hour is only for your practice part. If needed, we may sometimes extend to 4.5 hours also, depending upon if you're doing a question also. But generally, the class pattern would be 4 hours study time, half an hour practice time. Okay, make sure that you attend the full session and you're not leaving in between unless it's really an emergency too. I hope I'm clear for this. Any questions, any doubts, any way you have, please put them in the chat box. Now, now let's discuss about what is your syllabus. So for syllabus, I will open the book. Okay, the syllabus is mentioned in your book. This book access would be given to everyone by the team. You will get the hard copy also. Just get in touch with the team and they will help you out for the same. There are changes that have taken place because this book is for 24-25. There are changes that have taken place. And how do I know how the changes have taken place? So for this, I check up the syllabus portion. I select my version UK. Okay, this is our ACCA global platform. In case if you have not accessed, please keep accessing it on a regular basis. It's a very, very good, resource platform given to you by ACCA. So we'll discuss also about it, that how different resources can be used by you. I'll take the syllabus because it is applicable from June 25 to March 26. The syllabus is mentioned here. I need to check the changes. So these are the changes that have taken place and I will include them in your session. So wherever these changes are relevant, we will include them. One change is for the R&D schemes and the other one is for the inheritance tax. That is basically it has been added to the excluded topics. So these changes I will take care and I'll include them in your workings. Also, there is a change for the companies also when we calculate capital allowances. So these two major changes would be incorporated in your notes as well as in your questions everywhere. So be rest assured for it. Okay, now moving forward comes a very, very important pointer that, man, let's have a discussion about how is this paper going to take place. Is it going to be on a manual side, that is you have to use pen and paper to write it, or is it going to be computer based examination? What is the time allowed? What is the passing marks? And how do we go about it? So people, please understand, your exam is a completely computer-based exam. Completely, 100%. Not even a single option is there where you can opt for manual exam. So you have to write it on the screen given in that is the Excel and the word space that will be given to you. You will have to write your answers in that space. Okay. Now, second point. What is the time limit? The time limit is, it is a 3 hour 15 minutes exam. So the students who specially come from the CA background, they ask me, ma'am, this 15 minutes is for reading the question, right? Like we get in CA also. No. The paper time is completely 3 hour 15 minutes. It's you who have to use it for reading, for writing, for any purposes. So instead of a 3 hour paper, you have been given 3 hour 15 minutes to do the exam. Next, what is the passing marks? The passing marks is 50%. That is, the paper is of 100 marks. You have to get minimum 50% to get the passed. But I want you all to have a target of getting a rank. That means we have to target of achieving minimum 90 in ATX. And it is not impossible because we have had ranks in the past. That means, of course, with more efforts, with regular practice, sincerity in attending the live sessions, doing the homework questions, doing the practice kit parallelly will help you achieve it. Okay? Okay. Now, what is the breakup of your paper? Now, you don't have any MCQs in P11s. So, no MCQs or no fill in the blanks kind of questions would be there. You'll have only two sections, section A and section B. Please understand all questions will be compulsory. Okay. Your questions will include computational part as well as your we can say discursive part also. That means you'll be required to do discussions, you'll be required to do some writing as well as doing calculations. So it will be combination of both. Okay, and generally these sections or the question that would be there for you would be scenario based. Okay, you'll have a case study, you'll have a scenario given, and excuse me, generally it will involve multiple taxes. Okay, so you would be need to apply multiple taxes, be it VAT, be it corporation tax, be it inheritance tax, be it the income tax. So there will be multiple taxes that you will be needed to apply, in order to solve that question. So we will be always solving the paper by following the step by step method. Okay, how do we apply step by step method? I will explain. And the reason for the same is because since you do not have any MCQs here, you will be marked on a step-by-step basis. So even if your one step goes wrong, your other steps are correct, you will get step marking for the same. You will not get zero. Unlike MCQs where you have a mistake, you get zero. But here you will get step marks. So we will take full use of those step marks. Although we will try to always secure full out of full, that is 100 out of 100. But if we have errors, we should not be losing more marks. So how to do a step-by-step approach, writing and approach calculations, that also we will understand. Then generally your questions will be more towards planning. Okay, more towards planning for multiple taxes. So planning is a very major part of your question pattern. So for planning questions we need to have our open-mindedness, we need to have um, the ability to write for both pros and cons. So we will do that while we are progressing in the syllabus. Okay. Now, so one thing, please just understand that your ATX paper or ATX paper is always built upon the basic knowledge of taxes. That is F6. But I will take care of basics also to be covered in your class. So guys, I will have the professional part as well as the basics part both covered in the sessions. Okay. So that you're clear with the basics, the application of the advanced skills would not be different, would not be difficult for you. Now, please understand your first section. Your section A is only one question of 50 marks. So there is going to be a one case study with multiple taxes involved. And this is going to be for 50 marks. Got it? Now this 50 marks is divided into 10 marks is for professional skills. Now the professional skills that we're talking about here are the same skills that are applied to all P-level papers, like communication skills, analysis and evaluation, skepticism, and commercial acumen. So even here for ATX, you would be tested on these four skills. I will be taking in detail, like, what are these four skills about and how do we ensure that we achieve the marks for these skills, because they carry 10 marks. So out of 50 marks, I always say 10 marks are your free marks. Free. Why? Because you are writing the question in the correct proforma, in the correct pattern, doing the presentation correctly, you get marks for communication skill. When you have multiple taxes involved and you're focusing on one tax each, okay, you're focusing on one tax each. That means you're going into a deeper analysis of the same, you get your second skill marks. When you're presenting that taxes calculation correctly, you are going into a deeper analysis, that is your analysis and evaluation. Your third skill, skepticism. There are some estimates given to you. There are some scenarios given to you. Some calculations given to you in the question. But boss, you think there are errors which you're going to correct. It is skepticism. So identification of those errors, those mistakes, okay, or those assumptions which are missing, and then know what do you call detailing about it in the answers to the examiner, you will get your marks for analysis and for skepticism. Fourth skill is commercial acumen. That is applying your practical knowledge, the knowledge that you have got by doing various questions in the class, your theoretical understanding, applying it in a way that can actually be practically applicable. That is known as commercial acumen. So commercial acumen is applying your concepts, your understandings that you have obtained by doing different case studies and applying them in the questions that are in front of you. So you will get that marks for commercial acumen as well. Do you need to learn anything for the skills? No. Do you need to have a proper set performer for the skills? No. If you are do your answers correctly, you're solving the question correctly, writing it properly, giving a note of the assumptions, making a note of the errors in the question and applying it in a way or concluding it in a way that is practically acceptable. That is how you will get your 10 skills marks. So you essentially don't have to write anything specially for gaining these 10 marks. These are free marks. So we will always target to achieve these free marks comfortably. So for achieving these 10 free marks, you need to apply your 35 marks properly. 35 marks are those technical marks where you're actually doing the calculations, writing the technical theory, be it calculating for the IHT part, for the capital gain tax, or for the corporation tax, for the income tax, for the VAT, and so on. Okay, so legitimate and clear workings, clear performance, writing them properly, showing the proper workings, including the workings in the Excel cell. All these will contribute to you to gaining these 35 technical marks. You get these 35 marks, you will get the 10 marks free. And 5 marks are for ethics. Ethics, we will have an understanding today. That is what are, what are topics relating to ethics. Or basically how our answering should be for ethics questions. So this is how your 50 marks is divided here. 35 plus 15 plus 5. So practically, I would say you're writing your question for 35 marks only. You write it properly and you get your 10 and 5 free. Moving to section B. Now, section B is going to have two questions of 25 marks each. Now, that is also divided. 25 breakup is 20 plus 5. 5 is for skills marks. So here also you get 10 marks. 5 in question 1 and 5 in question 2. Total professional skills mark in your exam is 20 marks. 5 marks is ethics. So technical part what you are going to handle is practical only 75 marks. I don't think it's so challenging. That is why I say it's a very, very scoring paper. If you write everything fine, you will get this 25 marks straight away. Okay, and comfortably. So follow the patterns in the class, do more practice so that you will have a habit of writing your answers in the proper performer. Okay, now this section B will cover generally 2 skills. Every question, 2 skills will be there. Here all skills will be covered except for communication skills. That is about the performer pattern. Okay, so it will be testing your 3 skills and any combination of 2 will be asked for both the question. Question 1 of section B will have 2 skills. Question 2 of section B will have 2 skills. Okay, and this is how you will get your 100 marks. Okay, any questions till this point? Any of you have? Please put them in the chat box quickly. Able to understand? Okay, Nitish, any queries? Nitika, any queries? And the one who's registered with 1 plus, any queries? Please give your name. Okay, great. Great. Now, how spread is your syllabus? How spread is your syllabus? So you'll have coverage for individuals, so where you will be calculating the UK taxes, for individuals that we call as individual taxation. We will discuss about the UK tax administration, the UK tax system. We'll be also discussing about how we can, how the steps can be taken or what are the ways to minimize the tax liabilities in certain cases or to do deferment of tax liabilities and then in other cases. That is, typically this will be a part of your tax planning questions. So tax planning would involve minimizing the taxes or in certain places exempting it or deferring it. Okay, so these are the 3 areas that we'll be covering for planning: minimizing, exempting, deferring. Please remember it, the 3 pointers. I will be taking care, of course, of them when we're doing the planning questions in the class. Okay, then we will have a portion for professional skills, and there is a topic given in your book for employability and skills as well. Employability and skills is nothing but getting yourself accustomed to the CBE platform. Because boys, it is because people, it is not the same Excel that you have here for Microsoft Office. The same Excel is not there in your CBE platform. Those who have used it know it better way. Those who haven't, we will be using it in the class, and I want you to be accustomed to it very quickly, okay, or as soon as possible, so that you can do multiple questions on the CBE platform, because that is the same platform that you will be using in the exam. So if you have not worked on that platform, you will have a lot of difficulties in navigating and using this sheet. Hence, we will use it also in the class, and you will be also required to do questions on your CBE platform. So one prerequisite, let me tell you, whether you're doing a practice question in the class or whether you are doing homework questions, by default you're going to solve your questions on the CBE platform blank workspace. I will show you where it is. Secondly, if you are not able to use that platform, then you will solve it on Excel or Word, depending upon the practical question or a theory question. But in no case you're going to write your answers on a pen and on a paper using pen, because that's of no use, no, because you'll not be allowed to write your exams on pen and paper. You would be required to do it on the CBE platform only. So make yourself used to it. Of course, I discussed about corporation taxes. Of course, corporation taxes, capital gain tax, inheritance tax, VAT, individual taxes, all these taxes are covered in your ATX as well. Right? All these. Okay, any queries that you have till this point? Okay, now I want you all to be absolutely comfortable, and I really want you all to use this platform more oftenly. Okay, please just do not open it and just keep it closed for a longer period. I mean, every week at least try to open this, get the resources, have the understanding, do more questions so that you're always, able to complete your syllabus. By the time that we finish off our syllabus, you'll be done with your part as well. So, of course, most of you are working, and I understand you all have scarcity of time. So, in order to make use of the time, please do not keep your portions for the end. Study it regularly, parallelly with your work. So, it will be like a routine, embedded in your system, and hence it will make your life easier. And it will make sure that you are studying regularly. You are in line with the sessions. So, by the time we finish off with our syllabus in the class, you will be done with your syllabus as well, and then there will be no panicking mode activated. Okay, no panic button will be activated at that. Okay, now please look at this. This is your study support resources that you will navigate it on the ACCA platform. I select ACCA qualification and I select my paper. Okay, now please see. Here we have ATX-CB introduction. I would like to just play this video so that you would be, you can get an idea about this CBE platform. And I will take you also to the CBE platform. Okay, just have a look. This is shared by ACCA only. Just tell me if anybody is having any audio issues. Just let me know. I'll ensure that it is not there. So if you're not able to hear the video, just let me know in the chat box. Answer will be done using word processor and the spreadsheet tools, and these all will be embedded in your answers. So just see how it works.
There are a series of initial instruction pages. You have 10 minutes to read these before the exam automatically begins. This is the main screen in your digital workspace. It introduces you to the exhibits you will use to complete the requirements set within the exam.
You would be also always given a case study like this where it is a basic understanding of the question. Just basic brief up, I would say. A very brief up introduction to the question. And the balance in relevant information is covered in the different exhibits. Like here we have 6 exhibits. These are listed down here. You click on one of them, you'll be getting the detail of that exhibit. So how your reading pattern would be in your exams, that we would start from day 1 only. You would always just reading this information and you will never open the exhibits like this because too much of data will make you confused. Instead, we will open the requirement page and we will see what is the requirement of the question. What is the requirement of part 1? If it requires us to answer it by reading exhibit 1, then I will open exhibit 1. I will read it and then I will answer the relevant question. And then I will move to the next question. And then I would, of course, then read the relevant exhibits applicable to the next question. But I will not open the exhibits first and read it entirely to go to the question requirement, because this would lead to your loss in confidence, because too much of data will make you confused. And also it will kill time, so it will make you lose time. Hence, it is not advisable to read these first and then do the requirements. Okay?
The numbers match the exhibits on the left-hand side of the workspace. This screen can be resized using the splitter bar. This is your exhibit list. Clicking on each one opens it in a new window. You can close exhibits by clicking on the X. These are your question requirements, which open and close in the same way. And these are your response options, where you will answer the requirements.
These are the requirements. Okay, so here the requirements are put up to you. And this is like the use of EVA as the key performance metric at IC. Okay, and here, like this is for APM. Okay, this is not for your ATX, but it's a common video that they're prepared for all the P-level papers except for SBL. The same pattern is there. Okay, so here we have a requirement. Like the requirement is for economic value added. So second part we have read. Okay, and suppose company information is also needed. So we will read exhibit 1, exhibit 2. Okay, and then we will solve the question. Got it? This is how your reading would always be when you're reading in the exam, when you're reading at, by doing the practice questions also, you will never read every information together. This is a part of what I say as step-by-step answer solving. While reading the exhibit also, we will solve the answer by reading it step by step. This will save time and give you more confidence, enhances your memory.
And these are your response options, where you will answer the requirements, word processor, and spreadsheet. You can move and resize the exhibits, requirements, and response option windows. Let's explore other functionality within the workspace. Currency symbols are accessed by selecting the symbol button. You can highlight information within the exhibits and requirements in a variety of colours. Choose the text you wish to highlight and select your colour. You can also strike through text. Select the required text and...
Okay, here also guys, I would like to add on. See, many times I hear from the students and they say, ma'am, I read through the exhibit. For example, this is the exhibit. Okay? While reading, I read it once. I got confused and I have to read it again 1 or 2 times to get the clarity. But this would lead to more wastage in time in the exam. More wastage of time. So ideally then what you should do, use your highlighter. And suppose I'm reading this line, Iron Chicken is a multinational business which manufactures so and so. Building control system includes heating and air conditioning system. I need this information in order to know, to get certain data. So what I will do, I will highlight it. So what I will do when I'm reading the exhibit for the first time, I will highlight all the relevant parts that I find is important. And any information which I think is irrelevant, not related, I can strike through it. What will this do? Because colors always attract you first. Remember that. Okay. So when I have read with the exhibit and I'm solving the question, my eyes will automatically go to the colored part. And since it is the highlighted part that only I need to know. So this will reduce my reading time and this will save your time. When I strike through a portion, I know I don't have to read it again. I will not waste time on it. So only the highlighted parts is where I need to focus. If I need some reading more, I will read it, like what the data which is related to that highlighted part. So this will save my time and then I can easily write the answer. Please use highlighter in the exam. Please use strike through tool also in the exam, as it can make your reading time reduced and your answers more accurate, because you will be sticking to the information which is important, which is relevant for you to answer.
Click on strike through. You can remove both of these annotations by selecting the relevant text and clicking on strike through a second time, or by selecting remove highlight. There is an on-screen calculator that you can switch between standard and scientific mode. Most students choose to bring their own calculator to the real exam. This is permitted, providing it does not have the facility to store or display text.
Calculators are permitted to be carried in the exam because, of course, the main requirement is you should not be able to display or store the data. But I would say when you're writing your answers in the P level and you're already using Excel, why do you need to do it again, do it on the calculator and write it? Because it is a requirement of the examiner that whatever questions you're solving, the calculation part should be reflected in the Excel cell. So when you're already reflecting your calculation part in the Excel cell, you don't need the calculator. So do not waste time of typing on the calculator and then typing the answer over there. You will not get marks. You need to show the working clearly either in the brackets or as a working part in the Excel cell. Make sure that you follow it. And it is not just for ATX, for SBR, for AAA, for APM. For all these papers, you would be following the same.
There is a scratch pad where you can make notes. These notes are retained throughout the exam. However, they are not submitted for marking.
Okay. Another point, guys, there are two ways of sitting for the exam. Either you would sit for the center-based exam or you would go for a remote exam, right? I hope everybody is aware. Those who are not aware, for them, I gave this information, okay? So if you're going for a center-based exam, you would be given over there a pen and 2 sheets of paper, okay? The center would provide you that. So instead of using the on-screen scratch pad, which sometimes becomes, too time consuming for you to type, you can use your pen and paper and go ahead with the solving. Okay. However, if you are going for a remote based exam, when you are giving the exam at home, in a remote environment, then you're not allowed to have the sheets of paper and pen with you. You're not allowed. You will be compulsory required to do the workings on the scratch pad online only. So in case if you're planning to go for a remote exam, start doing that practice from day one only. Okay, so that you will be getting used to of using the scratch pad online. Okay, in case if you're planning to go for a center-based exam, then even if you're doing the rough work or as we say, if you're doing any rough work on the paper given to you, that is also allowed. Okay.
You can close all open windows by selecting Close All on the main screen in your digital workspace. Any answers you have entered into the response options or highlighting you've done on the requirements or exhibits will be saved. The Flag for Review button allows you to mark a question for review later in the exam.
The flag for review is an option given. Or suppose I'm solving a question but I'm stuck at some part. I'm not able to recollect some portions. So maybe I want to come to this question later on. So I will do it right now, flag for review. This will make, a kind of a notification in my mind that yes, I have a question to which I have to come back. So I will do other questions and I will not spend much time on this question there so that it's not wastage of time. After doing some questions, I want to come back to this question. So once it is flagged for review, you will make the changes and then please remember to unflag it. Why? If a questions at the time of submission of the exam remains flagged, okay? If a question at the time of submission of exam remains flagged, it shows that the question has not been answered only. So flagged question is never marked. It is always taken as no answering. Only when you unflag it, the question will enter the mainstream and then only it will be eligible to be checked by the examiner. We'll be very, very clear about flagging and unflagging.
The Navigator button allows you to move between questions and to view questions you have flagged for review. Here you can see question 1, which we just flagged. You can also use the previous and next buttons to move through the exam. This button gives you access to guidance on how to use the workspace, the formulae sheet, or tax tables relevant to your exam, as well as a copy of the exam instructions. Its name will be specific to the exam you're taking. When you've finished the
Yes, absolutely. This approach is the same for skills level. If you flag questions, they are never marked. Only when you unflag it, only then it is marked. Flag means the questions are still in progress. Okay? And you're not still not clear. So therefore, when you submit it, the questions will remain flagged only. Okay, then you should not. You should always unflag them. Always. For every professional exam that you may be doing. Because even if you're going for a, after this, suppose if you want to go for a CIMA exam, for USCMA exam, for all the professional exams which are computer based, you always have an option for flag. Okay, always unflag it so that the questions will be marked by the examiner. Otherwise, you will be marked 0 for those answers.
exam, click Next at the bottom of the workspace. You'll see the item review screen, which gives you the opportunity to review or revisit your answers before you exit. It also confirms that you have attempted each of the requirements. Click End Exam to submit your answers and confirm you wish to do so. A confirmation screen signals the end of the exam.
Any doubts, any questions till this point? So now I think we have just got a rough idea about what is the CB platform looks like. Just give me 1 minute. I will open the CB platform just to make you aware also of how to access that platform. Okay. Just allow me a minute. Just give me a minute. Okay. I'll just do a correction. Flag questions will be marked. So for other professional exams, USCMA, they are not marked. But for ACCA, yes, they are marked. So yes, Nikita, please don't be worried. I was just checking it. Yeah, for ACCA, yeah, it will be marked. Whatever portions you have covered will be marked. Yes, don't be worried. Okay, yes. So, but flagging, I always say, yeah, it is just for your understanding. So complete it. Okay. So let's have an access to the CB platform also parallelly. I've logged into the CB platform. Okay, you can always log in with your ACCA account as well. So this was my ACCA account. Now on the catalog, this is the list of all the subjects. Suppose I want to select now advanced taxation. Okay, now you don't want to attempt any past paper, but you want to attempt a paper, a homework question given by me in the class, and you want to attempt it on the CB platform. So you will open the blank workspace. Okay, I will assign it. Once you assign it, it will appear here. So blank workspaces. So I will switch. I'll start. Okay, now you can see this. So blank workspaces typically do not have a question. It is used for answering. So I can take the word processor. I can take the spreadsheet also. Now just look here. It is not working. Look with the next one. Okay, so this is a word processor, which you can always increase the size, decrease the size as per your requirement. You have these options only available to you. Now, many students ask me that, like, here I've done this. I'm just making you a bit aware of this CB platform. Now, I'll copy it and I'll use Control C and then I'm using Control V. Is it working here? Yes. Now, I'll open Control X and I'll use Control V. It is also working here. Okay, so some shortcuts are working, but some are not working. Okay, you want to reset the page, you will use, so the information that you have done is not saved. Okay, like this, you have different options given to you, which you will use accordingly, according to your requirement. Now, likewise, I'll open the spreadsheet. Maybe this Excel is experiencing some errors, not a problem. It will get updated. Okay, so you'll use the Excel sheet also like this. Okay, and please just understand how to use it because it is not your typical Microsoft Excel, guys. It is not your typical Microsoft Excel. So it is not so easy to navigate. I mean, you will have these scrollings to be done and so on. Not all shortcuts are activated. They all are not there, right? Very limited shortcuts, very limited, formats are there. So please use it accordingly. Now, this is the highlight option given. You can change the color. This is the symbol option. That is, you want to insert which symbol. I want to insert euro. I want to insert dollar. I will insert it. In the exam also, you will get the pattern like this. This is the strike through and this is the calculator that we discussed. Okay. So you can switch the mode. You can have a standard. You can have a scientific calculator use. This is the scratch pad. That is the rough work that we discussed. Now I want to copy from here. I can copy it. And then I would paste it. Okay, it is allowed. But then people, if you're writing in your scratch pad, you can write it here also. Now, why do you want to waste time? Because if you're not submitted, you can make the changes here as well. Right? So try to use the scratch pad as much minimum as you can so that it doesn't lead you to waste your time. Okay, this is your CB platform and making you aware of it. Not just moving forward and making you more aware of the different resources which are available to you. Okay, so on this, the ACCA global platform, we have discussed about the syllabus, we have discussed about the CB platform. This is the professional skills for your ATX. So I'm not actually having the videos played right now because these are the common videos for all the skills level. We have discussed the summary which you can always go through, when you are doing your own research, just go through this screen as well. Okay. And for me, now most important certain tabs which you are required, mandatorily required to follow, of regular basis, I would say that. That is number one, your ACCA study hub. Okay, ACCA Study Hub is your free resource. I will just play this video if you're not aware of ACCA Study Hub. I mean, it's like a pool of questions given to you by ACCA. And I have, as a tutor, as a mentor, I have seen over the previous many terms that ACCA Study Hub questions twisted in a way many times get clicked in the exam. And it gives you the kind of exact pattern of question that you should be doing. So apart from what we do questions in the class, please do ACCA Study Hub questions, parallelly at your end also. I will also take this time some questions from ACCA Study Hub and we'll discuss in the class. Okay. So I'll just play the video just for your understanding what is ACCA Study Hub about.
the reverse.
Guys, ACCA Study Hub is not just about questions. It's about a detailed understanding also of the topics, flashcards given, so that it's like a quick check that you can have on the understanding of a particular definition, a particular term, the particular concept. Okay, all this is embedded in your resource. I mean, it's a free resource given to you by ACCA. So apart from what we do in the class, the materials that we follow, the questions that we do, boss, this is entirely, a kind of a pool, an ocean of questions, ocean of data given to you. Make use of it the most that you can.
Of the card. Practice questions help you prepare for your exams. You can instantly compare your answers to the suggested solutions. It's an anywhere hub. Whenever and wherever you want to work, Study Hub is there on web and mobile. It's a success hub. 79% of students said Study Hub made them more confident. 90% said they would use Study Hub again. Use Study Hub to help boost your progression. Just go to your My ACCA account and click on the Study Hub link.
Okay, so I'm sure that now all of you would be making use of your Study Hub. I will open Study Hub questions. When we do certain topics, I will definitely take some questions also from the Study Hub. Okay, guys. So first is Study Hub. That is going to be accessed by you regularly. You complete one topic, you complete one chapter. There are chapter-wise, topic-wise questions given over there. Please do them parallelly also. It will increase the confidence level that you are having. And if you have any doubts and queries, I am there. Come to me and ask your queries. So the more questions you practice, the more doubts you will have. And then resolution, when I do, it will make your concepts, your fundamentals absolutely perfect. And the next is examiner's report. Okay, examiner's report is basically an outlook of examiners, outlook of the panel of examiners and their analysis of the exam question paper. That is what is generally the mistakes that the students were found doing, commonly, averagely, the major students, and what were the kind of answers that they were expecting and which some students also gave. So this will give an understanding about, okay, fine, this is what my examiner is looking forward to. We will also use and discuss an examiner report in the class. Generally, I tell students to do it, but this term onwards, I'll also take one examiner's report in the class where we'll discuss briefly the examiner's outlook and the correct outlook that should be there. So we have discussed about Study Hub as well, the examiner's report as well. Now this comes I would say your 100% marks you can easily increase your scoring by 30 to 40% if you do rigorously your past paper and question paper practice. You've done enough questions, but this will give you confidence. This will give you a better understanding. Okay, so please use this when we are almost about to complete our syllabus. I will also take some questions in the class parallelly. Okay, people. And on the same lines, we have a mock exam. So every exam term, we have a mock released by ACCA that is compulsory, mandatory, required to practice. And I am also, there to give you evaluations on the answers that you have done. So please, please, please do more practice regularly, effectively, continue and, regularly join for the sessions and revise your concepts, have the understanding properly so that you can apply them in the questions. Any doubts and queries so far, please put up in the chat box. Okay, people, so I hope now if I give you a summary of what we are going to do in ATX is we are going to be studying the topic in details, grabbing the conceptual understanding, and doing a lot of questions in the class, as well as giving a lot of homework so that you do additional question practice at home. Parallelly, you have to do your past exam questions, mock papers, study hub, everything running parallel. Now, another topic that I just skipped to discuss was technical articles. These articles and some videos are prepared by your ACCA tax experts. Okay, so this is just to give you more understanding about it. Like for us right now, it is relevant. For us, is relevant Finance Act 2024. Okay, Finance Act 2024 would be relevant for your June 2025 exam and onwards. So we will be following this Finance Act 24 changes. Now, if you want to look in details, you can always open it and have a reading of it. And it's written here that these changes are relevant to which students appearing for which exams. So accordingly, whatever articles are published relevant to you, you can always visit it. However, you can visit the previous articles also, because it's not that a topic entirely has been changed. Just some minor changes are there, but you can get the understanding, from the previous topics as well. Any questions, any pointers that you have to ask, please ask me quickly. Okay. I hope ATX looks interesting, because it's one of those few professional papers that has got like 50% calculations and 50% theory. I'll not say 50%, 40% calculations, 60% theory. Because generally all the other papers have. Yeah, excuse me. Generally, all the other papers have 20 to 30% calculations only, and then the remaining is theory. So it's got 40 to 50% calculations, and the remaining is theory. Last, we discussed about the passing percentage. So let's just have a quick look at what has been the passing percentages in the past. So this is the passing percentages given to you, updated till December 24 for the last 5 attempts. Averagely, it's around 47, 48, 49%. And it is the highest among all the professional levels. The passing percentage that we have obtained at VGLD has been minimum 65% to 70% minimum. Generally, averagely, we have had a passing percentage of 85 to 90%. So that's, and like I said, in the previous to previous term, we touched about 95% also. So that means we carry a good passing percentage. And the major role of having a good passing percentage is by doing more and more practice of by the students, and also having your query resolution on time. Okay, so when you have queries, please put up to me and don't wait for your syllabus to end. And then when you're 2 weeks to the exam and you put up all the queries, because that time understanding also becomes a challenge. Okay, so please start studying parallelly whenever you have time. I'm not saying you to study 2 hours a day. You have 30 minutes, revise through what we have done and just study for 30 minutes in a day. I think that much time everybody can take out. You revise portions and you do questions. That's the only thing that I require you to do during the weekdays. Okay, I hope you're in line with me. Everybody's on the same page. Any doubts, any questions, put up to me. Hi, Riddhi. A very good morning. I would say good afternoon. Anybody is having any questions, any queries? But I hope now writing the exam is clearer to everyone. Okay, and please remember, in ATX the performers, they play a major role. So I would be discussing the performers, but you have to ensure that you are writing your answers, you're practicing them also in the required performer only. Okay, coming to the book, this is the book published by VGLD and this would be available to you, and this is published. for the year 24-25. I know we are in 25-26, so there are only two major changes that have taken place. I will update you for the change. Okay, now the syllabus here is spread across 28 chapters. I think then you should go for ATX, because if the last paper, Riddhi, that you've studied is taxes, Riddhi has a question, and mark your questions to everyone. Only until I tell you to mark it to me directly, mark it to everyone. So Riddhi has asked a question. It's my first professional exam and I'm confused whether to go for SBR or ATX because my last skill paper was tax. I would say, boss, go for taxes. Okay, go for taxes. Go for ATX. Why? Because you have just studied for taxes, right? Everything is pretty much fresh in your head. So studying ATX then will not be much challenging, right? So then I would always say go for taxes. Okay, let's just have a look and I'll give you a break after it. After the break, we will study with our first chapter. But I'll not be taking the chapter in sequence. I would be starting with ethics, the first one. Okay, so your syllabus is spread across 27-28 chapters, and I'm not going to entertain any question when someone asks me, ma'am, which are the important chapters? Boss, in ACCA, nothing is important because everything is important. Every chapter carries the same importance as the other chapters. So it's not that any one chapter would be highly important and the other one would be less important, because ACCA does not have a fixed pattern where only these particular chapters will be asked. A combination of all these chapters can be asked in the exam. So you all should be ready to answer any kind of question, any kind of, situations given to you in the exam. Okay, so I hope I'm absolutely clear on it. Guys, with the same level of energy, with the same level of confidence, we will be beginning with our first chapter. Before that, let's have a quick break, a very short break. I would always give breaks in the class. So in a 4-hour study time, we will have one long break or two short breaks. Okay, and then we will have your 30 minutes practice time. This pattern will start from tomorrow. Today, we are having a relaxed session of 3 hours because today is more like an orientation session. Okay, so let's have a break. Let's have a break of 10 minutes. So we'll resume around 12:32 as per my laptop timer. Okay, so don't go anywhere. Be here only, and we'll resume at 12:32, and we'll resume with our first chapter. Hi everyone. So welcome back from the break. Okay, and let's resume. Let's carry on with our first topic that I'm taking, chapter 27, ethics. Okay, if anyone has any questions in mind so far, quickly put up in the chat box. Do not keep your questions with you. Share it with me. So any sort of questions, please put up quickly. Okay, so let's discuss the first topic or the first chapter that we are going to take, ethics. It's vast. So we are going to apply the basics knowledge, Riddhi. The tax knowledge that you have obtained in skills level, we are going to go beyond it. Okay, we are going to take entries or transactions like cross-border transactions, overseas taxes, double taxation relief, different multiple other exemptions and reliefs, relating to shares, relating to capital gain, relating to incorporation, and so on. So it is going to be more on the technical side now. ATX syllabus is quite vast. But of course, when you've read taxes, when you've understood taxes, it makes your efforts at least reduced by 30 to 40%. Okay, so then you just have to focus on the advanced taxes portions. Yes. Okay. Okay. Before I discuss ethics, my quick question. Do you think as an ACCA professional, do you carry any ethical responsibility? You know, when you're dealing with your clients, when you're dealing with your organizations, do you think there is any by default ethical responsibility that comes in? I know ACCA has a code of ethics that we have to follow, but do you think just because you qualify as an ACCA and enter into a transaction with a client, okay, whenever whatever transactions you're entering into, whatever dealings that you are entering into, whatever suggestions that you are giving, and the work which is carried on by the client, is it going to have any impact on you being an ACCA professional? Or is it going to have any impact on your duties as an ACCA professional, you know, considering in relation to the ethical duties that you're required to follow as per ACCA guidelines? Do you think that any action of the client can impact your role, can impact the duties that you're bound to take? Please just put it in the chat box. What, according to you, are the ethical responsibilities that you carry as an ACCA professional, and how the actions of clients can impact? Just, whatever thoughts are coming to your mind, just share it in the chat box. Mark it to everyone. Just write down what, according to you, can be the, those responsibilities, or if the how clients' actions can affect that responsibilities. So what do you think? Just because you're an ACCA professional, by default, what responsibilities are you carrying? So one trait that Riddhi has put up is, by default, it is a trait that we are expected to carry is honesty in dealing with the transactions. Okay. What else? Confidentiality. Very good. That you're required not to share any information that the client has shared with you. What else? Come on. Think. Think. What duties do you by default carry? What do you think, Nitika? Nitesh? Sunita? Pushpa? What do you think? These are the traits that we have discussed, right? You become an ACCA professional and you're dealing with the clients. What qualities or actions that you are expected to display? Very good. Nitika has given me a very valid point. That if the client is doing any unethical activities and we are aware of it and we do not report it, then we may lose our ACCA license. Absolutely correct. Very good. We will also discuss that in that situation, what should be the responsibility of ACCA. The responsibility should be to inform ACCA that, look, I'm leaving this client. I'm no longer going to be associated with this client. However, ACCA tells the professional that, look, you don't have to give me a reason. You don't have to disclose that this client is doing some unethical activities. No. Because we will do an investigation to confirm it, right? So ACCA will say, however, if you think the client is not listening to you, is continuing with the unethical work, then in that case, you have to leave that client's appointment, leave his work, and inform ACCA that you're no longer associated with that client. Don't give the reason, however. And parallelly, you will prepare a money laundering report and submit it to the money laundering officer of your firm, or submit a report to the National Crime Agency of the country, to inform them about that, yes, there are some malpractices or unethical practices which are happening at the client's place. Of course, without giving a hint to the client that you are informing ACC, you are informing the authorities about it. Of course. Very good, Sunita. One more very important point that she has put up is integrity. Integrity is almost in line with honesty, right? To be truthful, to be honest in the activities, you are expected to display this. You are expected to display this trait of integrity of confidentiality, of objectivity, of professional competence and due care. You know, all these you are required of professional behavior. You are required to display them because by default, when you become ACCA, you get your membership number. You are expected that you are having a display of these traits when you are dealing with your clients. What else? What else do you think? Okay, another question I want to put up. We have discussed till here. Another question. We are going to discuss the topic, but let's have some understandings, right? What do you think that when being an ACCA professional, if a new client is approaching me or I want to select a new client, I want to start working for a new client, what are the prerequisites that I should always, check or that I should always account for? What are the prerequisites that as an ACCA professional you should always take care? Can you just think of and put it in the chat box, any of those pointers? Come on, quickly. Nitish, we can have the points here. Come on, guys. Everybody, just give me some pointers. What do you think? You're going to accept a new client. Do you think that you're going to do any of the actions before accepting the appointment? If yes, then what would it be? I'm giving you 1 minute. Think and give me the answers. What do you think? Whatever your thought process, put it in the chat box. Let's have a discussion. Everybody put it. A very valid point by Pushpa, by Sunita. We will discuss it. Come on, guys, give me your inputs. Show me the energy levels and the thought process. I need some answers coming from you as well, Nidhi, Nitesh, Nitika. Absolutely correct, all of you. The pointers that has been given by Sunita and Pushpa. Very good. First point, a very valid point, background of the client, due diligence of the same. Very good, perfect. It is always a prerequisite that before we go for an acceptance of a new client, the background check of the client should be done, maybe by having, a cross check of their ID cards, a registered office address, and so on. Right? During a due diligence of their financial standpoints, of the decisions taken by the entity. Right? So due diligence report would be much, much essential. Very good. Second, Pushpa has given me a valid point again that any past liabilities or penal actions pending against the clients should be checked. That means we have to check with the previous client, previous tax practitioner about the client. Very good. So the tax practitioner who was associated with the client earlier, then when it is come to you for new appointment, just check with him. But now here I will add one clause. What if the tax petitioner is not allowed to disclose the information? Why? Because client has not allowed him. Why? Because he is bound by the principle of confidentiality. Got it? So if due to the principle of confidentiality is not giving you any information because the client has stopped him from doing it, then ideally you cannot force that tax practitioner. But at the same time, you will not go for the acceptance of that appointment as well because things are looking fishy. Things are not looking very confident, right? So in that case, you will not go ahead with the appointment and you will stop the appointment process only for the client then and there. Next, Any past liabilities or penal actions pending against the client. So yes, this is also a good thing that would come in due diligence only, as it is that if there are any dues pending with the client, any fraudulent activities or any unethical activities performed by the client in the past. For that purposes, we do a due diligence. Nitika is given another point. Ask from the previous ACCA why is left the client, and the reason was something that you should consider. So that we have taken care, right? So what is ethics questions about? These are ethics questions where you just have to think from the standpoint of if you are an ACCA professional. So we are going to cover the concepts, we are going to cover the portions, but this approach will give you 5 marks. You just have to put your thoughts in the correct way. That's all. Ethics questions are not something out of the world. You only are giving me the answers. This is what we expect in ethics questions. Of course, putting them together in a summarized form. Clear? So let's go ahead and let's discuss this ethics chapter. I'll be taking some examples, some questions parallelly as well. Okay, so I will just read out some portions from here, though we are not going to do any readings, okay? Notes will be generally given to you in the form of Excel, but some notes I will provide you in the PDF form also, okay? So these notes will be given to you, that will be available to you after the session. Now, please look at some pointers. Question 1, as we discussed in section A, in all the ATX-UK exams will include 5 marks for demonstrating the comprehension of the essential ethical principles pertinent to providing tax advice. Like you all just gave tax advice right now when I asked you questions. These are the kind of scenarios that you will find in your exam where you're required to give your tax advice. Your tax advice is correct and from ethical point of view. You're meeting the requirements. You will get your 5 marks very easily and comfortably. So how is the process that you're going to follow? Okay, what is the process that you're going to follow? There are 5 fundamental principles that you will see, which are, which principles are getting applied to that case. You will identify that. I will discuss the 5 principles again, and you will see which of the 5 principles is applied in that scenario. Then, if that principle is not getting met with, what will be the effect? And what are the safeguards that we should, take? Like here we discussed about the prerequisites, which are safeguards. So what are the safeguards that should be taken in that situation, as a way to reduce the risk, as a way to mitigate the risk? Okay, so I will just write down these steps. So first step, is steps to discuss ethics question. Simple way how to get those 5 marks easily without any trouble. So first step is see which principle for the which fundamental principle, that is the 5 ethics principle that we know is getting applied in this situation, which is number 1, confidentiality. Number 2, integrity. Number 3, objectivity. Number 4, professional competence and due care. And number 5, professional behavior. So you will see which are these 5 principles which are getting attracted here. Okay, identify them. Then you will, number 2, you will relate it to the scenario given. Okay, and then number 3. Okay, and then number 3 is related to the scenario given, and then you will discuss the safeguards to mitigate the risk. I will include it in the notes, don't worry. Right now, I'm just presenting to you in a summary way. So first, identify the fundamental principle. Number 2, related with the scenario. And number 3, safeguards to mitigate the risk. You follow this 3-step process and your ethical question is over. Ethics related question is over. Okay, let me discuss some more points in ethics. Okay, here from the notes, and then I will take it from the text. Okay, just this brief of point that I want to give you. Professional advisors like you as an ACCA, what you are expected to do, you are expected to do or perform your duties competently, perfectly. Okay, you're expected to perform your duties competently. Number 2, you're expected to refrain from conflict of interest or any personal benefiting. That is, you are reflected to display objectivity principle. No personal benefiting should be there. You are required to maintain the accurate records of dealings. And you're not going to develop personal relations with them that you're not maintaining the dealings with both HMRC as well as clients. I'll explain you who is HMRC. And you conduct your actions in the most ethical way as is prescribed by the 5 fundamental principles of ACCA Code of Ethics. This is kind of an introduction that you can use for your answering as well. So, which are the 5 fundamental principles of ethics? Number 1, integrity. That is, we should always display the action of honesty and sincerity in all the professional dealings. Objectivity. That means we should refrain from compromising the professional judgments, professional, decision making due to biasness, due to conflict of interest, or any favoritism, okay, or any influence. We should refrain from having it. Then we have confidentiality, that we should maintain confidentiality of especially about the client's data. So we should maintain confidentiality especially for the client's data or any other data which is obtained as a result of professional relationships or business relationships. Okay, that should not be shared with anyone. Unless you have a consent of the client, it should not be shared. Professional competence and due care, that if you are required to perform audit services, for example, you should hold a valid ACCA degree. If you are required to perform any other services which require you to have the professional degree, then you should be having that degree. Okay, that means you should be professionally competent to perform those activities. Okay, that means we should have the professional knowledge and we should have the competence to perform those services, those knowledges, and the professional duties while following the standards, while following the ACCA Code of Ethics. I think exactly what we have discussed in our questions that we just discussed. Last, professional behavior. Since you're a professional, so you're expected to display a very, professional behavior. That means the behavior which is expected as per the rules, regulations. That means you're following those rules and regulations. You're refraining from having any kind of unethical behavior display. Okay, any display which is going to bring disrepute or which is going to lower the regards of the accounting profession, that should not be displayed. Simply speaking, if you're entering into a fraudulent activities, it is displaying your unethical behavior. So recently we had many cases where some of the professionals were involved in those bank frauds. So it was definitely it brought disrepute to the profession that they are serving. So that should not take place. So ensure that the 5 ethical principles, it's your duty to check in the exam that which of the 5 ethical principles has actually been discussed here. Which of means it can be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, any number. So that is your duty as a examinee to see which ethical principles are discussed over there. Once you establish the principle, then you will correlate with the scenario and start, discuss the safeguards, the prerequisites to mitigate that risk. The complete 3-step process that we are going to follow. Okay, so let's look at the notes to have better clarity. Now, here I am taking a case that is taken from the steps that is taken from F6 taxes, from your basics. Okay, let's have a revisit, especially for those who have already done their F6 taxes. So here comes a portion that if there is any tax evasion done by the client, what is tax evasion? Tax evasion means, boss, I have to reduce the taxes. And for reducing the taxes, what I did, I adopted some illegal ways. Like, I have hidden an invoice that I'm not going to show, or I am not going to show my income, or my income is 1 lakh but I'm showing only 10,000. So when I'm submitting those misleading information to HMRC, then we say, boss, it is unethical information, it is an illegal way to reduce your taxes. Okay, so if we are adopting any illegal ways to reduce the taxes, that is known as, just so that we have a reduced tax liability, boss, that is known as tax evasion. But contrary to it, now I'm doing proper planning. I know there are reliefs, there are exemptions, there are deferments available under the taxes. I'm going for those deferments, I'm going for those reliefs. That means now I'm not doing anything illegal, right? I'm taking help of law to reduce my tax liability. Why do you want to invest in ATC? Many of us do investments in ATC, in Indian taxes. Why do we do it? Just not that because I want to hide my taxes, I want to hide my income. It is the legal way which is offered by the government of India under their income tax rules, which allows us to save taxes. So I'm adopting those rules. Likewise, in UK also, we have, if you invest in the ISAs, okay, individual savings account, you have an exemption up to 20,000. So if you invest in there up to 20,000, you are not evading tax, you are planning for taxes. So this is known as tax avoidance and planning. Basic difference, right? Now, you are an ACCA professional and you've been hired by a client. And what has the client done? The client has entered into tax evasion activities. The client is entering into activities which is leading to tax evasion. What is your duty as a professional? Tell me. Put it in the chat box. Tell me. If you know your client has entered into activities which are leading to tax evasion, what is your duty primary as a tax professional? What would you do? Put it in the chat box. Okay, what would I discuss with the client? I am discussing with my client. My client says, boss, I will not, I'm discussing with my client that, look, you are doing tax evasion activities. Please do not mislead HMRC. Please, disclose all your information completely. Yeah, I will explain the client the repercussions also. That what will be the repercussions? You'll be subject to so much penalty, interest, and so on. But still, my client is very stubborn. My client says, no, boss, I will not change. I will not change my approach. I am not going to disclose this information to HMRC. Or if he has hidden the information, if he has reduced that income, he is going to carry on with the same. He is not ready to change. Now what would you do? Think. Guys, what would you do? Riddhi, what would you do in that place? Nitish? We follow the same for CA rules also, right? So what would you do in that place? Type it. Okay. Okay. So let me read out your answers. Nitika has given that inform the client that you will not be associated with them. Sunita says we'll end the contract with the client, report it, or do not authorize it. We are not nobody to authorize the transactions, Pushpa. Authorization is always done by management, right? We are just there to express our opinion. Make disclosures to HMRC. Disclosure about that you are no longer going to be working for them, or disclosure about that errors. If you're talking about disclosure of errors, we are not allowed to do it. As per your ACCA code of ethics, because you're bound by the principles of confidentiality, you cannot disclose it to the client. You cannot disclose it to the HMRC that there is some malpractices going in this client's organization. Okay. Nitish says we will leave the engagement. Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. So now I'll just come here. You will take steps to persuade the client to correct the material error or disclose the full information of income to HMRC. If the client does not undertake the advice of the professional accountant, then the ACCA professional should refrain from acting for the client and should stop working for him. Okay, now what should be the next step? Now you have stopped working for the client. Now what would you do? Think. You have stopped working for the client. Someone will say, ma'am, we'll start looking for a new client. I received the answers in the previous batch. No. The next step would be informing HMRC that boss, I'm no longer working with the client, but I will not disclose the reason for the same. I will just inform HMRC I'm no longer working for the client. Okay? Next. What do you think next we should do? The ACCA professional should do what? Because he is already aware that the practices are not going fine in the organization. Although he has left the organization, but still he can do more, to ensure that this is getting corrected. No, we cannot. Nitika has given me the option that please inform the next tax practitioner there is some, misleading activities going in the client's organization. No, we cannot do that, Nitika. Why? Because we are bound by the principles of confidentiality. So if the client has not given us the permission, we will not disclose it. We need to strong inform stakeholders that we're not associated with the clients. Yes, by way of a public notice, already it is informed, and the AGMs that they take place, it is already informed. But the next step, actually, as per the ACCA Code of Ethics, is the professional should prepare a money laundering report and submit it to the money laundering officer of his firm. If he is not having a firm, or if the money laundering officer has prepared the report, then they will submit it to the National Crime Agency or the Crime Investigation Authority of the entity, okay, of the country. And then they will carry on with the investigation, and they will ensure that yes, there were malpractices going out at the client side or not. But you are never going to disclose it directly to the tax practitioner, to HMRC, or to anyone. If the report is not submitted, or if it is shared with the client already, then the professional will be charged with the criminal offense of tipping off. So even if the professional has not submitted the report or has already informed client about the same, then he can be charged with tipping off. I hope now the entire summary is clear. How should we go ahead when we encounter such a situation? Okay, any doubts? Put up in the chat box. Next, I'll take a situation where there is a conflict of interest. Like there is entity A. Okay, and for company A, I'm the auditor. Okay, now company A has given the reference to company B to hire me as an auditor. But company B is a creditor for that company. So company A is a debtor, company B is a creditor. If I do the audit for both of them, there is a conflict of interest because they're already entering into transactions. So if I take audit of both of them, I may just have a partial situation, a biasness may come out. So there can be conflict of interest here, right? Now, there can be multiple situations. See, sometimes the transactions are not much material. They're very one-off kind of a transactions. So then in that case, conflict of interest really doesn't turn up. So then you will inform both the parties about your appointments in both the entities. And if they're okay, you will continue with the engagement. There is no absolutely problem because the transactions happening is not much frequent and not much material. On the contrary, on the contrary, if the conflict of interest is posing a threat to any of the fundamental principles, because maybe the frequency is high and the amount is more material, so then in that case, if if it has been concluded that look, this conflict of interest is something that cannot be eliminated or this will not be reduced to an accepted level, then in that case, what is the best way? Leave working for uh, you know um any of them, because there are two parties involved. Any one of them we should leave the engagement for, okay, so that the conflict of interest is resolved. The existing as well as the ex accountants, the previous practitioners, they are bound by confidentiality. So, in case client's permission is not obtained to share information, then in that case, existing accounts will inform about the refusal to the prospective accountants, in which case the prospective account should refrain from accepting the appointment. The same situation that we have discussed. Okay, so let's look at some questions, and all of you, come on, keep your eyes, ears, mind, everything open, and let's discuss this. Now, let's have few more situations where conflict of interest can be there. Like you're acting for both the spouses or both the civil partners, and they are on the verge of a divorce, for example. So then the situations are not cordial. Then acting for both of them can be a conflict of interest. Okay, then you are acting as an auditor for both the company as a shareholder. Okay, so then also it can be a conflict of interest. Again, company and a director. And acting for both the parties in a business sale. Like I said, one is a debtor, one is a creditor, or one is a buyer and one is a seller, and there is a business sale which is taking place. And you're acting as a professional for both of them. So in that case also there is a conflict of interest which is taking place. Right? So what are the safeguards that can be implemented? Let's have a look at the safeguards also. Again, you have discussed a lot of points. Let's discuss more points. The safeguards are something, those corrective actions in order to ensure that the risk is minimized and there is no conflict of interest. Number one, you will notify all the relevant parties that look, I am going to be acting. Suppose you're going to notify both the parties in the divorce. I'm going to be acting for the other party, and you will tell to the other party that I'm going to be acting for the first party. So now they both are aware of a situation. If they are not accepting to go ahead, then you will have to terminate one of the interest. However, if both the parties are comfortable, you can go ahead. Then there is no conflict of interest, because then both the entities or both the parties, they are agreeing to the fact that you're going to act in a very ethical way. Okay. So therefore, obtaining consent from the relevant parties would be much, much relevant and much, we can say important in this case. Okay, that is notifying all the relevant parties and obtaining their consent. This is the primary safeguard that we're going to adopt. Okay, primary safeguard. Next is no consent is granted. Then what all additional safeguards can be there? Number one, in a firm only, like we have EY, like we have Big Fours. What happens in Big Fours? There are multiple partners, multiple teams. Partners under them also have multiple teams. So if there is one partner's team is doing the, is acting as a tax professional for seller, and the partner's other team is working as a tax professional for the buyer, then it doesn't make any difference. I mean, that's completely okay, because both are separate teams. Separate teams are there, so confidentiality is maintained, access, use is restricted, right? And the conflict of interest is avoided. So using separate engagement teams, yes, is the correct way, is an additional safeguard that can be adopted. Number two, confidentiality should be there across all employees, partners in the organization. Okay, then we should have restricted access of information, like I said, restricted access to the information. Okay, so we should have the team which is looking after the assets separate, the team which is looking after the contracts separate, the team which is looking into the confidentiality area separate. Okay, so separation should be there. And we should have the regular checks, the regular reviews by a senior officer who is not related to any of the activities or any of the we can see the parties involved, which is like the unbiased person, or which is a unrelated person, can be appointed as a reviewer, as a supervisor. Okay, so these are the additional safeguards that we can take. Why we are taking these additional safeguards? To ensure that the overall risk that is can be arising as a result of conflict of interest would be avoided. Okay, any doubts, any queries so far? Are we clear? Don't worry, I'll include them in the notes. Completely okay. So are you clear with what are the safeguards, the primary safeguards? What are the other safeguards that can be in place? Any doubts, any questions about it? Please put up in the chat box, everyone. Absolutely clear? Come on. The next portion we have already discussed. Just some more add-on points I'm going to discuss. Okay? Very good, very good, very good. Now we are just going to discuss the next point, the new clients. We have already discussed about the new clients, right? So let's discuss them more. You want to accept the contracts with the new clients. Now, what should be your approach? What should you be doing if you want to, accept a new contract? Hi, good afternoon, Tanya. We are just discussing a chapter from ATX, the first chapter, ethics, that we are covering. Okay, so now acceptance of new clients can pose a threat to the fundamental principles. So we have to evaluate if it is posing a threat to the principle or not. If yes, then what is a threat and how we can mitigate the risk. Number one, required expertise. Very, very important. Here, your fundamental principle of professional behavior, professional competence, and due care are getting affected. Because if you need expertise boss to give them a planning scenario, you should be first an expert in the same, right? So to carry on with the tax avoidance, tax planning schemes, and expertise is needed. For that, there should be a display of professional behavior, integrity, okay, and no potential conflicts of interest should be there. Safeguards, we have already discussed, right? So now, safeguards means you're already coming on that, the conservative front. That means you're already ensuring that, okay, there is a client who's approached to you to file the UK taxes returns. So, of course, you should have the UK tax expert ready with you. So, this is a safeguard that we are adopting. Okay, so the safeguard means whatever is a requisite expertise, the professional behavior, the professional judgments are already in place. The professional competence is already there to handle all these complexities in the client's organization. Okay, next, required documentation for limited company clients. Okay, that means documentation has to be proper. Required documentation for individual clients. So what do we need? ID proof, their registered address proof, their incorporation proof, okay? The details about the directors, the promoters, everyone. So this is your individual clients proof. Then previous professional advisors, we have already discussed. If it is always advisable to approach a previous professional advisors to the client and ask them a reason of why they left the task, of why they left the assignment. Okay, so now if the client has given them the permission, they would give you a reason, and if the client has refused to allow them, then they're bound by the principles of confidentiality. And then the existing accountant would inform the new prospective accountants about the limitation. And then in this case, in this scenario, of course, it is more better that new appointment will not be made. Okay, new appointment will not be made. Last, engagement letter. It's again a safeguard. Once you've accepted the client, now you'll be going ahead. So then it's better to have all the terms and conditions of the engagement should be clearly mentioned over there. Okay, so all the terms and conditions of engagement should be clearly mentioned over there. That is, if we have accepted the new client, then the engagement letter should consist of all the terms and conditions which are required for performing these professional duties. So what are the additional safeguards? Required expertise, required documentation for the entity's client, individual clients, previous professional advisors, and engagement letters. So all this should be covered, and the different safeguards, okay, before we are accepting the new clients, okay, before we go ahead with the new clients and expand the horizon. I hope I'm clear till this point. Any doubts, please tell me. Okay, so now I can just give you a summarized view right now. Let's have a summarized view and then let's discuss some more details and then go ahead with the question. So far, what we have understood that boss step one, there are 5 fundamental principles. Principle of integrity, confidentiality, objectivity, professional behavior, professional competence, and due care. Right? These are the 5 fundamental principles that are required, mandatorily required to be followed by the ACCA professional. In the question, what you have to look for is which of these principles is getting affected. Clear? Okay? So you will then relate, you will give a background about what is this principle about, what does this principle tells you, related with the scenario given in the question. And then finally establish these safeguards, additional safeguards, conflict of interest, accepting a new client, all these pointers. Now, in case, another situation, very interesting one. HMRC has done some errors, which generally they do not, because it's everything is computer based. But even if by error, you were required, or you were having a right to receive a refund of, let's say, 20,000 for the taxes. Wrongly, HMRC has dispensed with 2 lakhs. Now it is a moral responsibility If you are the ACCA professional for the client, to persuade the client, boss, return that money to HMRC. And again, if the client is not ready to return, then it is an illegal activity. It is not accepted by a code of ethics. And then you should stop working for that client. Okay. So in case, so it's always first step is persuading the client, telling them that, look, there is an irregularity. There is, you will give the clarification of the situations as Pushpa discussed, that boss, we will give the repercussions, that what are going to be the effects if we do not disclose. Even after that, the client is not ready to disclose the information to the client, then it's, it's our duty as a professional to stop working for that client. Got it? Now, so let's have a quick example. Okay, some more examples we're going to discuss. Anthony tells his tax advisor that he intends to underpay taxes. This would be tax evasion because it's intentionally he's wanting to underpay taxes. It's not because he's applied some deferments or some tax reducers. No, he is intending to pay less taxes. So this is definitely a case of tax evasion. If he's adopting tax evasion, then it is known as money laundering. So it is a money laundering offense. As a tax professional, what is your duty? That you apply your professional body's ethical guidance. You will persuade Anthony to comply with the law. If Anthony's intention is still unchanged, then in that case, the tax practitioner should consider carefully whether he should continue with the act or he should stop acting for Anthony. Okay, you would always include these sentences in your answers. The same situation for the employees. Sometimes the same situation come for the employees. You're working in a company and you encounter some fraudulent activities by your employer. It is your ethical and moral responsibility to do the same steps again, persuade the client. And if the client is not, going to change the stand, then in that case, it's your duty to, inform about the money laundering activities to the concerned authorities. And then you have to take a decision whether you should continue to work for that employer or not. Okay, about that employability. Though you're not bound by ACCA Code of Ethics directly, but being an employee also, if you're an ACCA professional, you are bound by those ethical responsibilities. Okay. Okay. Now, I can just discuss about the penalties and then we'll take an example. Okay. Just please look here. Your civil penalty is there. Civil penalty means it is not treated as a criminal offense. That means it is just with the amount of money penalty that is up to 50,000 pounds can be imposed on tax agents for the dishonest conduct. If the penalty exceeds 5,000, HMRC may publish details of the tax agent on their website, the penalized tax agent on the website. Tax tribunal may allow HMRC to access the working papers of also the dishonest agent. So actually it is not 50,000, it is 5,000. Okay, it's a printing error. So please understand that it is a maximum penalty of 5,000 that can be put in on the that can be imposed on the tax agents for their dishonest behavior. If it is exceeding 5,000 in any case, then HMRC can publish the name also on the website, and access to the working papers can also be granted by tax tribunal. Okay, please read this example. I will also read it and you have to tell me your viewpoint. Okay, you have to tell me your answers. I will just recheck the penalty amount. Just a minute. I'll just check whether the amount has been changed or not. Yeah, its maximum daily penalty is 5,000. It is a maximum daily penalty of 5,000 that you can be imposed. Now let's discuss this question. Your manager has had a meeting with Florina, who is a client of our firm. Please be very attentive. Let's have your outlook. Okay. Winston Florina's father also attended this meeting. Vincent is Florina's father. Vincent is in poor health and is not expected to live more than 12 months. It is estimated that the value of his estate upon his death will be very significant, and he wishes to carry out some sophisticated tax planning to reduce the tax which will be payable in respect of his death estate. The term used is sophisticated. How do you interpret it? You will see. Forget about what is a death estate and all. It's just remember death estate is all the assets that are remaining, the net assets at the time of the death, and that is passed on under a will. Just understand that much only for now. This may mean changing the terms of his will as not to leave the whole of the estate to his daughter, which is his current plan. Winston wants to appoint a firm to replace his existing tax advisors. Explain any difficulties. You just have to give me answers from ethics point of view, okay? Explain any difficulties which we may have complying with the fundamental principles of professional ethics in relation to acting for Winston and any suggested appropriate safeguards. So these are the new prospective clients. So just discuss and tell me what can be the potential difficulties that they may encounter. Just write your answers or pointers in the chat box. What do you think? Then we will match it and we'll discuss it. Everybody keep typing in, then we will discuss it all together. Come on, everyone, please type it quickly. Okay, Sunita has typed in conflict of interest. Interesting. Others, what do you think? What are the 3 steps? Very good, Tanya. What are the 3 steps that we should be following? Number 1, identify which fundamental principles are getting affected. Then related with the scenario and then the safeguards. And then comes the conflict also in that steps. So first step always, Sunita, is to identify which fundamental principles are getting affected. So here, Pushpa is given me, and in fact, yes, very good, Nitika. The fundamental principle of confidentiality Okay, you are saying that fundamental principle of confidentiality is getting affected. I think yes. Yes, absolutely yes. Correct. We'll discuss it also. Tanya is also correct. There is professional competence and due care. And you can relate, Sunita, your conflict of interest with confidentiality. Right? Very good. Uh, Pushpa is given that professional ethics of integrity, objectivity, and confidentiality may be compromised in this situation. As there is conflict of interest, we should inform both the parties about the conflict and get the consent, only then continue with the assignment. Partially, yes, you're wonderfully correct. See here, who is the client? Florida, right? I mean, Florida is discussing about the estate of her father, and both are attending the meeting. So, where is the confidentiality? Because the information is getting disclosed with both of them. So there is a conflict of interest which is taking place, right, Sunita and uh, Pushpa? Correct. So there is a very straight conflict of interest that has taken place, and in fact, Nitika also supported that point. So of course, confidentiality principle is getting breached here. Very good. So Winston and Florida have attended a tax planning meeting together. So do not appear to require their affairs to be confidential from each other. However, we should ensure that we have clear guidelines by giving the consent to both the parties that we are acting as a client for both the parties. Okay, and hence there has to be maintenance of confidentiality, and we should obtain written permission that we can discuss the affairs with both of them. Very good. So the first pointer is correct. Next, Pushpa discussed about the principles of, no, not Pushpa, professional competence and due care. Tanya discussed. Boss, there has to be professional competence and due care, because what is the term used here? Sophisticated tax planning. That means we are not going for tax evasion. Tax planning means we have to be a very learned tax professional so that we can carry out these tax planning process. Hence, professional competence and due care is a principle which is getting challenged here. Right? Next, integrity is dishonesty. Here, we're not hiding any information. So I will not say the integrity is there, objectivity is there, because there can be biasness. See, there is a conflict of interest. So by that, the objectivity always comes in, right? So it is possible that providing advice to Winston on his that estate tax planning could give rise to a conflict of interest, because it will give, it will give rise to uh, lower tax liability, however, with better planning for Winston. But for Florina may not, it may not be advisable, and she may be receiving a lower portion, because it's written here, right? So that the whole of the estate is now not left for the daughter. It may give rise to conflict of interest, and hence, uh, permission should be obtained to act for both of them. In case if there is still conflict of interest happening, and that the parties are not comfortable with each other, then in that case we should refrain acting for any one of them, and we should leave that appointment. You would add that point also, although it is not written here, but you would add that point. Are you clear with the thought flow now, that how my ethics answer would be done? How the ethics answering would be done, in what is the sequence that we will be following? Are you clear with this so far? Guys, come on, be with me and tell me. The flow has to be clear so that any question which is thrown to you, you would be able to handle it. And those 5 marks are fully secured. Let's have one more situation. Come on, guys. Show me your approach. Banda is a client of a firm who has received an unexpected refund of income tax from the authorities in respect of an earlier tax year. We discussed this. Prepare a summary of the actions that we should be taking, the matters of which Vanda should be aware in relation to this income tax refund. I give you 3 minutes. Read this question again. Okay? Just recreate the thoughts in your mind and then type it in the chat box. What do you think Vanda should be taking the actions? You are tax professionals who are assisting Vanda in this case. So how would your approach would be is what is you're required to answer in this question. Okay? Because client will never respond. It's you who has to take the responsibility of responding. Guys, quickly, please type in what do you think your approach should be. I'm giving you more time. Everyone, comfortably read through your points. Just try to recollect what we have studied. Ethically, the ethical points, just frame those points in the head. Think about the principles, which are getting affected here, and then frame your answer. I'm not in a hurry. Take 3-4 minutes. Think comfortably and then type your answer. What should be the correct approach? It is most welcome for all the students to please, revert. What do you think? Just have a thought process. Has it ever happened with you? It's, you're just, you all, I assume that you all file your income tax returns and suddenly you receive a refund message, which, you know, what do you call? The background of it, sometimes it's not, you're not able to recollect it. And then suddenly you become happy, I've got refund. Any time it happened with you? Ever? Sometimes you're not expecting it and you get the refund. Maybe sooner you get it. Sometimes you're not able to correlate that refund. Sometimes you think, oh, I have received more refund. But not all the time it is more. Not all the time that it is something extra that you have received. All I'm trying to say is all those students who are writing it directly, that ask the client to repay it, else will you make a disclosure to the tax authority. Disclosure about what? You are not allowed to require to make a disclosure about that you are leaving the reason for leaving the client. Also, like Sunita also added, ask the client to refund the excess to HMRC. If not refunded, then leave the assignment. Do we do it directly? Or should we first assess whether actually it is a wrong refund or not? So, like Nitika mentioned, we should investigate whether there is a valid reason for the refund or not. If it is not refund, if it is not carrying any valid reason and you have actually received something excess from the client, something excess from the HMRC, then you would need repayment immediately. What if it what is a valid reason? It is something that it was related to what you were supposed to receive. You're not receiving anything extra. Then it is a normal transaction that has happened in the due course of you filing the returns, and then you will not take any action. Okay, so like Pushpa also added, check whether it is relevant to any previous year's due refund or not. Okay, in this case, if it is not related to, then we should inform and we should persuade the client. Okay, we should give clarification to the client that look, it is not related to any valid reason that has happened with your organization. Hence, you do not have a right to keep that refund. Ideally, you should repay the amount to HMRC. Okay, and if the client is not is refraining from returning it, then you would inform the client that this is an illegal action. Okay, it is going to lead to penalties, it is going to lead to an offense, interest amounts will add up. Okay, and finally, you can also inform the tax authorities that there has been sorry, you will not inform, you will persuade the client to inform the tax authorities, the HMRC, that there is tax errors that have happened or that have taken place on account of HMRC that needs correction. So accordingly, if any penalty, if any interest would be charged upon, that should be reduced or that should be nullified. In case if the client is still not ready to repay the amount to HMRC, then in that case, it's your duty, like Sunita mentioned, that we would stop working for the client. Okay, we would stop acting for the client because, like Tanya added, it is affecting the principles of integrity. Yes, honesty. It is affecting the principles of honesty. So we will stop working for the client and we will not give the HMRC a reason for why we have stopped working for the client. And then we will assess. It is not always to prepare the report. Okay, it is not always needed to prepare the report. We will assess whether a money laundering report needs to be prepared and submitted to the tax officer or not, based on materiality principles also. Okay, so you will see that. This is how we will write. So here also I related it to a fundamental principle related to the scenario, the safeguards that persuading the client and all that we have taken. Am I clear with this? Anybody who's got any doubts so far, please quickly put up in the chat box. Are you clear? Absolutely. Come on, guys. Show me that energy. Feeling tired? Can we have one last question for today? Nitika, Sunita, Pushpa, Tanya. Are you ready for one more question? Great. Good. That's the energy level that I need. Come on, let's have activity 1. Plaid Limited. Plaid Limited is a client of our firm. Your colleagues have just discovered that a significant chargeable gain made by Plaid Limited several years ago was omitted from its corporation tax return. Read it very, very carefully. Your brain should start working on the fundamental principles. However, because the gain arose in respect of the sale of land, it was reported for the purpose of land transfer tax. You're not required to do the calculation. So don't be worried about what is a land transfer tax, what is a land tax. Just have the basic understanding. Accordingly, a colleague assumes that we do not need to do anything and that the authorities will contact our firm from this about this at some point. Explain the implications of Plaid Limited and our firm for the failure to report the chargeable gains to the authorities. Okay, you're not required to address money laundering or possibility of penalties since these have already been discussed with the clients. Okay, you are not required to give detail about the money laundering or penalties activities. Just give the steps to be followed. So, what are the implications? Again, run your brains and form your answer. Discuss for both Plaid Limited as well as our firm. Plaid Limited is the client. Remember the principles also which are getting affected here, breached here. So discuss about those principles also. Step 1, step 2, step 3. Almost the similar steps that we have covered in earlier questions. So quick, guys. 3 minutes you have been given. Think carefully, frame the pointers, then type it in the chat box. We'll discuss it. Discuss about the client also, about plaid also. What is their responsibility and what can be their implications? Okay, so I think we have received a lot of answers. Now we can discuss. But glad to see the level of answers that you're writing. Very well drafted. Just see the improvements that you have shown in your answering from example 1 to this activity 1. So let's read those answers in the sequence. So I'll first discuss Sunita's answers, right? We should discuss the omission with Plaid Limited and we should advise client to pay taxes on the gains. For firm, integrity principle will be affected. Also, firm should act in a professional behavior. Very good, fun, perfect. Our firm must follow integrity as professional code and discuss with Plaid Limited about the omission, the complete tax amount on gain with interest, if any, shall be deposited with the authorities. Very good. Nitika, Plaid Limited needs to report this tax to HMRC and pay the excess tax. If not paid, it can be penalized. We write penalized, okay? And HMRC can charge interest on the unpaid tax. And for our company, we need to investigate how this gap arose in the first place and advise them to pay the tax. Okay, very good, Nitika. So the first paragraph is absolutely correct that we would be advising from the firm's point of view, they need to pay the full taxes. There's a breach of principle of integrity and the professional behavior, right? And in case if they refrain from doing this, then it will be treated like an illegal offense. Remember to write it, right? We have discussed in the previous case also. It will be like an illegal offense, and for against which the HMRC can charge penalties, the HMRC can charge interest as well. Hi Riddhi, I really want you to stay for just some time, just 5 minutes more. We are discussing questions and then it will help you to improvise. Okay? Yeah, so that's a wonderfully written, wonderfully correct answer. Tanya is also written that Plaid Limited reported to HMRC and pay the liability amount, otherwise it's an offense. Very good. So, very clear from Plaid point of view, very good. Now, from our firm point of view, like Nitika said, first step is to see that why this difference came up only, why these errors have taken place. And if there is this error, is there a possibility of multiple errors also? Find it. Okay, see to it. And then it's our duty to persuade the client to disclose this all to HMRC. Okay, ask this client to if there is a valid reason. Otherwise, penalty would be applicable. If client resists, we should stop acting. Like Plaid Limited, for Sunita has written that Plaid Limited can persuade HMRC to drop off penalty if any, in case if it is not left intention. Yes, you can. But this is not something to be written here, because here we're just talking about ethical problems, right? Ethically, what should be the correct action? We're not looking into that, because in penalties, yes, we have this clause, right? If there is a genuine mistake, careless mistake and all, but we are not going in detail of it, because the question says clearly you're not required to address any money laundering or any possibilities of penalties. Okay, so in fact we'll not talk about only penalties. Okay, we'll only talk about interest. No possibilities of penalties should be discussed. So we'll only discuss that if the it is an offense and if the amount remains unpaid, then interest would be applicable. From our firm standpoint, like we have already discussed earlier, we'll try to persuade the client, and the client is not agreeing to it, then it is unethical to continue to work for the client, because it is like a tax evasion that has taken place, right? So in that case, we'll stop working for the client, we'll inform HMRC about the same. However, we'll not disclose the reason for the same. Okay, so the same case. So here there is a threat of principle of integrity and professional behavior, like we have already discussed. Okay, are you now clear absolutely with this ethics related questions? So we have covered all these. Okay, there are still some portions remaining from this chapter that I will cover tomorrow. Okay, so I will cover tomorrow some portions which are left from this chapter. I will share the notes in just some time, and please go through the notes and just listen to me. We're not over with the class yet. So tomorrow we are going to be completing this chapter, but for now you have a small question as homework. Okay, so if I am sure not everybody is having the book, so I'll attach the screenshot in the question. Okay, I'll share the screenshot in the question. So in this tab, I will write here one more tab, homework questions. Okay, please complete them. And if you have any questions and queries, just ask me tomorrow. Go through the pointers today. I'll stop here, and I am sure, I hope that you all understood the session clearly and perfectly. And I hope that today's session was um, interesting to everyone rather than a boring session. And I look forward to see you all in tomorrow's session as well. So thank you guys for joining for the session today. You have any questions and queries, please ask me in the chat box. We'll have a full-fledged 4.5 hour session tomorrow. 4 hours for study time, half an hour for practice time. Any questions, any queries that you have, guys, please put up in the chat box. Okay, so please complete the homework question. We'll discuss it tomorrow in that half an hour time that we have. Okay, and we will also have the other topics covered tomorrow. Okay, thank you so much. Bye-bye. Take care. See you tomorrow. Most welcome. Bye.